Hello everyone and welcome to this Iris Bootcamp session on authentication. My name is Arif and I'm a web developer at Iris NITK. And I'll be taking the session on authentication in Rails. What is authentication? Authentication is a process of verifying the identity of a user or a device. It typically involves the user providing a set of credentials such as username and password, which are then compared against a database of authorized users to confirm their identity. Once a user's identity has been verified, they may be granted access to the system or a resource. Authentication is a crucial aspect of computer security as it helps to prevent unauthorized access to sensitive information. So we'll talk about authentication that can be implemented two ways. One is session-based and token-based. So first, session-based authentication. Session is a small file, most likely JSON format, that stores information about the user such as unique ID, time of login, expirations, and so on. It is generated and stored on the server so the server can keep track of the user request. The user receives some of these details, especially the ID, as cookies that will be sent with every new request so that the server can recognize the ID and authorize the user's request. So working, the user sends a login request to the server. The server authenticates the login request, sends a session to the database, and returns a cookie containing the session ID to the user. Now the user sends new request with a cookie. The server checks in the database for the ID found in the cookie. If the ID is found, it sends the requested pages to the user. Now for the token-based authentication, a token is an authorization file that cannot be tampered with. It is generated by the server using a secret key, sent to and stored by the user in their local storage. Like in the case of cookies, the user sends this token to the server with every new request so that the server can verify signature and authorize the request. How it works: the user sends a login request to the server authorizes the login and sends a token to the user. Now the user sends a new request with the token. The server checks if the token is valid or not. If the token is valid, it sends the requested pages to the server. Tokens are typically short-lived and the server will reject requests with expired tokens. Tokens can be stored on client side, for example in browser cookie, local storage, or in a mobile app. So which is better, token-based or session-based? So both have their strengths and weaknesses. Session-based authentication is traditional approach. It is simple to implement and works well for traditional websites. Token-based authentication, on the other hand, is more suited to modern stateless web application and is often used for API authentication. Token-based authentication is generally more secure than session-based authentication because the token can be signed and encrypted, making it more difficult for an attacker to forge or intercept. Additionally, the token authentication is more scalable because it does not rely on server-side storage. Um, that being said, it really depends on your use case and your security requirements and scalability of architecture if you want to use session based or token based. Now we'll talk about authentication rails. Authentication rails can be implemented in various methods. One way is to build it from scratch, which is not recommended because you might miss some security implementations or something like that. But we'll nonetheless look at it first so that you get an idea when we use a gem to automate the process of authentication. So the second method is the most popular method in Rails, which is by using a gem called devise, which it's an open source gem which you can look at its source code at github.com/hardcombo/devise. Fine, then let's start building our own authentication from scratch. So I've come to my terminal, and in a directory where I want to create this test app. You can do it wherever you find it, wherever you want to make this directory, this project. So Rails new, I'll call it test app. You can call it whatever you want. We'll wait for it to install. Okay, looks like it's done. So I'll cd into the test app and I'll open it in my code text editor /id. Yeah. So I opened in VS Code. You can use it wherever you want to. So let's first test if everything worked by running the Rails server command. It's a Rails server, same thing, but shortcut Rails s -p 3000 port 3000. Okay, so everything worked. I'm in localhost 3000. So looks like everything worked, but it looks kind of blank. And let's have a landing page first. So for a landing page, first I'll generate a controller which is called static pages so that I can have an index action in that and then landing page. So Rails generate controller static pages and index action. So basically I'm saying I want to generate a controller named static pages which will take care of all my static pages, and I want one of those index to be one of those actions to be index. So it created a bunch of files. One is controller obviously, and also a route, and also create a view which I'll show you now. So a controller here, static pages controller with an index action which I mentioned here, and in views static pages there create a folder called static pages and index.html.erb, and also in config routes a get request to static pages /index. So I'll show you what exactly is happening. So I go to static pages slash index. So a browser is making a request, a get request to this static pages slash index, which will go, which our Rails application will see, and will send through, and will see our routes. It says, okay, I know where to find this static pages index. So it checks the static pages controller and then the index action, and but we're not doing anything in the index action as of now. So it then renders the view which has the same name as the action, index.html.erb, in the static pages directory. So that's why you're seeing the same text being printed here. Static pages hash pound symbol index, find me in app views static pages index.html.erb. Cool. Just edit it so it looks a bit better. Let's say welcome to Iris Bootcamp 2023, and let's test it out once. Refresh it. Yes, it works. Um, let's. But when I go back to my root of the app, it still shows this page. So we'll fix this first. So same thing. We'll just go to our config routes, and the root route static pages. We'll map it to a static pages index action. Delete all this, and we don't need this get request anymore. So I'll remove that too. Now if I refresh, it works. Welcome to Iris Bootcamp 2023. So this is a good starting point for us. So I'll yeah. So Rails created a initial Git repository, and also it added a Git ignore. So we'll just have to add all the files. Git add dot, which will add all the untracked changes. Then git commit -m for message, and we'll call it init, means initial commit. Yeah. So everything was successfully committed, and now let's start with the authentication part. So now you have to authenticate something. So that something here for us is a user in this app which I'll generate. So first I'll create a new branch, grid checkout dash B for branch, and I'll call it add users. Yeah. So now I'll generate a user model to authenticate. So Rails generate, or a shortcut G model user. It'll have attribute of email and also a password digest of string type. So what I'm saying is create a table named user with columns email and password digest, both of type string. So you don't want to have it password only, like you don't want to store passwords in plain text on in your database, because that's very risky, and somebody gets a hold of your database, they can read all the passwords. So Rails provides us with this um, password digest. What it does is hashes the password, and it'll get stored in your database, so they can't see it. As if even if the hacker gets your database, he can't see the passwords as it is. You can remove the string. it, Rails is smart enough to know it's just, and he'll add the string part. I'll just show you that. So I'll run this command. It created a bunch of files. So one is db, which is database, and a migration file. So create table for users with attributes email, password digest of type string, and also a timestamp. Uh, so we'll basically have the created at and updated at, and also you'll have an ID attribute, which I'll show you, which is not visible as of now, but I'll show you. And next, it also creates a model user, so we can add the validations and everything over here. Okay, so for the password digest to actually work, we'll have to use a Rails method called has secure password. This has secure password is actually provided by the bcrypt gem. Um, so we'll add that also to show you that it actually works. What I'm doing right now. Let's go to Rails console, and I'll try to establish a connection with the user model. It says you don't have bcrypt installed in your application. Please add it to your gem file and run bundle install. So we'll do what it says. Um, we'll go to bcrypt. We'll uncomment this. So I went to the root of directory and gem file, and just uncommenting this line over here, and now I'll do Rails, no, bundle install. Yes, I'll also migrate the database. Yes, so now it says create table users, because users was a model name, so hence that's. Now I'll again open Rails console, or Rails C for short. Try to establish a connection with that user. Yeah, yeah, now it works. But and we'll try to create a new user. Suppose new, we'll just create an empty user of with id nil. I told you, right, id is an attribute which is the primary key over here, an email, password digest, created and updated. These were the timestamps. So actually what's happening under the hood is the has secure password, although we have only defined email string attribute and also password digest attribute of type string. It's also giving us a password string and also a password confirmation, if I can spell it right, confirmation of type string. So what this hash secret password does it, if we enter the password and password confirmation, it'll make sure both of them are same, and then it'll hash the password and give us the password digest. So we never actually have to set the password digest ourselves, so which is actually very nice. And these two are hidden attributes, hidden virtual attributes, password string and password confirmation string, which I'll show you in a minute. Now, if I try to see what users are there already, user.all, you get you get empty because there's no user right now. So try creating a new user. So user equal to user dot new, let's say email, um, John Doe at example.com. Say password is password, and password confirmation is also password, right? So yeah, it has created a new user object with email and password. Yeah, this shows filtered because Rails is smart enough and knows it's something sensitive information, so it just filters it out. Although we have added the password and password confirmation in this query, you don't actually see password and password confirmation. As I told you, hash secret password gives us the password digest, given that password and password confirmation actually match. So now user would just create users. Now let's see user.all. If the user was actually saved, doesn't. We just created the user. User wasn't saved. So user.save will create it. So insert into user email and password digest created and updated. So now we actually look user.all. Now we have it. ID number one, john.example.com and password digest. So everything works as of now, but there's a problem. If I suppose try to change, I'm able to basically insert random strings into the email attribute, which is not good. I'll just show you an example. You can actually do both the steps in one step. If you do something user.create email, some random email, actually have it none. I'll not pass this and it'll still work. Yeah, it worked. Insert into users, email was nil and a password. So that's the problem. We don't have any validation as of now. So we'll want to add that. So let's say in the user model, we want to validate what information are actually getting stored in a database. So validates the email, yes, email, let's say presence is true. Now if I try the same thing again, of course I'll have to reload the console. If I try the same thing again, this time it did not save it. And if you want to see the errors, which I show you, errors, so try to save this in a variable. If I say user dot errors dot any, it says true. Let's see what those errors were. Say message. Okay, it's called messages. Okay, so email can't be blank because we have added this validation saying email should be present. You can add, actually we can add more validation, which I'll just copy really quickly. Okay, it might look scary. I'll explain it in a minute. And also for password too. So yeah, with these validations, we're kind of at a better place than before. So first one says validate email present should be true and it should be unique. Of course, you want it to be unique. If it was username, same thing. You probably want it to be unique. And then this format with. So what this is actually doing is it's a regular expression. It's basically trying to match only valid emails. If it doesn't match this string, which actually looks scary, but it's something called regular expression. If it doesn't match a regular expression, then it puts out this message invalid email, which will I'll show you. I'll test it out. The next one is validate the password. We don't have to actually put presence equal to true because hash secure password does it for us. We just put it to be more explicit, and I'm saying minimum length for the password should be 6. You can also do format if you want password to have compulsory alphanumeric or something like that. For this case, for this test tab, it's fine. I'll just leave it as it is. So I'll just reload and I'll say user.create, or just use the up arrow to go, yeah, and let's say email is something like A. That's all, only A. Let's see what happens. So it started with the transaction, but it did not happen. It failed. Now see what errors are there. Errors dot messages. Yeah. So it says invalid email. So it comes from here, right here. So we have written message invalid email. There's actually we can add more. We can make it more secure and like more validation through a database migration itself. So suppose you forgot to add this line, this might help you. So let's go back to our database, migrate. Here we'll add null false. Now it says the email can't be empty basically. So I'll show you that it works. If I suppose comment it out and reload and try to create a user with no email, if you type it correctly, yeah, but it inserted. What's the problem here? That's because we haven't migrated the DB again. So what we can do is Rails DB rollback, and this is fine if you're doing it on your testing database, and not in production. But if it was in production, it would have some problems. So you have to be careful. What it does is it drops the database completely. All the values are gone. So Rails DB rollback. See, it dropped the table users. Now what I'll do is Rails DB migrate. With this new migration, the new changes, it should take place. Oh, if I can type it properly. Tail Rails DB migrate. Yes. Yeah. So now if I go to Rails console and try to create, yeah, it yelled at us saying not null constraint. Yeah. So it's not accepting null values. So that's how this works. I'll close this and I'll also bring this back. Okay. So let's just create one user. So right now, as I told you, it dropped the whole database because we did the Rails DB rollback. So it dropped all the values. That's why I'm saying you have to be careful when you do it in production. You're just testing it, so it's fine. So I'll just create a new user. Um, Email, same thing, John Doe at example.com. Password, password, password confirmation, password. Right. Yeah. Inserted the value. Now you can do user dot all. Yeah, you can see there's only one. You can also do user dot first. In this case, there's only one, but it would work. Also user dot last. In this case, again, there's only one, but the last would be the last value in the database. Yes. So that's it for the models. Now the model's working. And also validations, we have set up validations also, but since um, nobody has access to our terminal, there's no point. You need an interface basically. The users should be able to sign in and sign out. So we'll create that to sign up forms. So for before that, I'll just check our changes and try to comment the changes. Fine. So let's do git add all git commit dash m in imperative language, model add user model. Now we'll check out to main, and as you see, all we have lost all the changes, so we'll have to merge that branch with our main branch. So git merge add users. Yeah, so we got our changes back, and just see everything's working. Yes, it's best to again restart your server after you made changes to database, and also sometimes routes. So make sure everything works. Yes, everything works. So again, we'll create a new branch this time. I call it for a sign up. We're trying to make a sign up form now. Branch git checkout dash b's add sign up form. Right. Okay, we are there in the new branch. So I'll go to our routes, config, close something, routes, and do a get request to sign up to registrations, if I can spell it correctly. Yes, registration new, and also a post request to sign up to registrations create. So what it's saying is a get request to sign up should go to registrations controller and the new action, and the post request to sign up to go should be mapped to the registrations controller create action. So first we can create it from the terminal. Rails generate using the generator. Rails generate controller registrations, and we have new and create actions. So let's see what all files it created. So controller registrations controller new and create, and also views registrations folder or directory create and new. Okay, pretty good. So we'll go to this. So we'll instantiate a new user equal to user.new. I've showed you what user.new does. This what this at the rate does is, if you drop the at the rate, if you don't have the at the rate, this user variable is only accessible inside this new method. But if you add the at the rate, yeah, if you add the at the rate, it becomes an instance method, and it's available also in the views. So new.html.erb will also be able to access this user variable, add user variable. So we'll create a sign up form in registration slash new.html.erb. We'll call it sign up. I'll just show you that it works. Just print out the add user. So what I've done is, okay, I'll just show you what happens now. Let's go to sign up. Yeah. So when I go to sign up, it shows the user. So what essentially happened is when we access the sign up slash sign up, that is basically get sign up. So the route seed, okay, gets sign up. It goes to maps to registrations new. So registrations controller new instantiated a new user. Now it renders the view with the same name as the action, which is registration slash new dot html dot erb, which we have written sign up, which it shows sign up, and that same variable was visible in our views too, and it just printed out. So what this is actually html.erb is basically HTML but also embedded Ruby. So you can embed Ruby into this HTML file. So what this particular syntax does is it runs whatever this is in Ruby and it renders it. And if you simply if you didn't add this equal to sign, it would just run it. It would not show what the output was basically. So, but we want to just see for now what it actually does. So that's why I did that. So a new user was created. Now we'll create the whole form with the form with builder helper. So form Rails provides us with this helper form with model at user to form. This is a block. We're defining a Ruby block. Let's say form should have a text field, a text field with email for the email attribute, also for the password attribute, and also for the password confirmation attribute. As I mentioned already, these are virtual attributes. We only define the password digest, but the hash secure password defined these two virtual attributes for us. Okay, let's see what happens now. It doesn't work because undefined, it says undefined method users path. So what happened is the form saw a model with user. It tried to access the user's path, but when if you see our routes, there's no user's path. So this would have fixed it. Users post users, yeah, it will fix it, but it's two different names for the same thing almost. So we do sign up, we keep it the sign up, we keep the same name, we keep the same as sign up path, and we add a new um, we say URL is sign up path. Now how do I know the sign up path thing exists? So you can go to your Rails routes. I'll just make it big so they can see. So here you can see prefix, verb, and URL pattern. So prefix means you can add a suffix to this like path or URL, underscore path or underscore URL, and it'll get that. So suppose you root underscore path will get you to the root of the root of the app, and sign up underscore path will take you to sign up slash sign up. As you can see, slash sign up in the URL. Same thing. I have both of these get and post the same names, but Rails knows where to take this and get request and where to and which control should hand which action should handle the post request. So it's registrations new for the get request sign up, and for the post request sign up it is registrations create, which again I've showed you, I've defined in the routes. So get request of slash sign up, it's actually equivalent to saying this post request sign up. It's the same thing. I'll just show it to you. It's the same thing. Yeah, same thing, but it looks cleaner without the slash. Now going back to our form, to the sign up part. Okay, now basically we can add email, password, and password. But this is of course not secure. You don't want people to be able to see your password in plain text while entering. So we can change it to a password field. no password field, right? Makes it, yeah, let's reload. Yeah, email, and you get the dots, and you get the dots instead of the password itself, which is actually a bit better. Still, we can do better. So what I'll do is I'll add a div. I'll add a div and I'll add a label, which is um, label form.label for email, and I'll just copy the same for this, this div 2. I'll show you what it does. Slash div, indent this, slash div, right? And this label should be for password, and this label should be for password confirmation. Yeah, now let's just see how it looks. You got email, password, password confirmation. To make it just a bit prettier, let's just add a line break right here, and right here. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah. Now also we need a submit button. Clearly, even if you add whatever you want to, you can't really submit this form. It's pointless right now. We'll add a submit button. So that is also provided with the syntax form.submit. Now notice what happens. Yeah, it says create user, but I have never written create user anywhere. So, but Rails is smart enough. It sees you're creating a form with this model user, and it's a post request. Um, I'll show you it's a post request. If I do inspect, yeah, action sign up, it accepts UTF-8, and method is post. So a post request, so it knows with model user and post request you want to create a user, so hence it renders create user, but you can override it and write whatever you want. Let's call it sign up. Yeah, let's call it sign up, and let's see. Yes, sign up. Actually call it sign up. Yes. Yeah, now if I add, try to create a user, it does nothing because we haven't still added the logic for the create action. So what we'll do is I'll try to do that again once again and show you what's actually happening. So I added steve@apple.com, and I'll add a password and password of password confirmation. Again, same thing. And let's see what is happening here. So it created a post request with parameters, and that parameters is a hash, and it has a hash inside it called user, and that hash has email that I sent and password. Of course, it's filtered as I mentioned, and password confirmation is also filtered because Rails it does that for us. So we can access this parameters using the params function, params hash, and params user essentially should give us um, the hash of email and password. Just so that show you what exactly is happening. It'll send us the email, whatever email and password confirmation basically. So what we'll do is using these params, we'll do add user equal to user.new params user. This is essentially same as saying if I'm doing user.new um, email steve at apple.com password of password and the password confirmation of password. These two are exactly the same, but this is of course stat like hard coded. This is more dynamic. It takes from the form, so we just keep this. But you don't want to do it. You don't want to send parameters just like that because it's not secure. There can be people who try to submit. You want to make sure that the use whatever attributes are being sent and whatever you want, only those are being sent and not additional. So we'll create a helper function in private, call it user params. Let's say params dot require user. What this means is if the hash that we're seeing right now parameters doesn't contain the user param, it has to contain it. We want it. So we write you require and it'll throw errors at us if it's not available. We'll say permit only the email, password, and password confirmation. Only allow these, only permit these three attributes. So essentially we just, and in Ruby the last executed line is returned. So this is essentially returned if we call this function. So I can say user params. Now if I try to, and we have just created the user right now, we haven't saved it. So we try to save it, and I'm saying if user is saved, let's say I want you to redirect, because as soon as the user signs up, I want you to redirect to the root path, which I showed you root route, the routes, that root path exists. And we have defined it as um, our landing page. And we'll say a notice successfully created account or something like that. And let's say if this was not successful, we'll render new and say state status is unprocessable entity. I'll show you what this means. Right. I'll show you what all of these does. So let's say um, Steve.apple something. It showed this. It should render new. It rendered new with the status of 422 unprocessable entity. But none. I don't want the errors to be shown here. Like what is happening? Why is this happening? So what I can do is in the form I can do this flash notice and say yeah you had a problem, you had a problem or something like that. But our forms can take care of this. So we'll go to our forms and say um, if at user dot errors dot any, which I showed you earlier, if this is true, then add user dot errors dot messages, full messages, sorry, full message, I think this is a method, full messages dot each do message. We'll and we'll put this in a div, and we'll print the message. So percentage equal to should be there. Now let's see what happens. So of course we have problem in our form, and it's showing all the problems. So I'll tell you what exactly happened right now. So first we went to our sign up page, and so that is linked to our from the route sign up page get request registrations new. In registrations control new instantiates new user add user. That means it's a instance variable, and then renders the new .html.erb, which is this model, this form with model, and then with this URL, and it checks for any errors. Of course, there's no error, it just created the new instance, and then it prints all of this. Then we add some values, and we submit the form. And when you submit the form, it's a post request. So post sign up goes to registrations and create. So when we go back to our registrations controller, create action, yes. If you're saying create an instance user or new, use this params. The params param should have user, and that user hash, you only permit the email, password, and password confirmation. Don't allow any other attribute. After that happens, if this was successful and we try to save it, if it was successful, it'll redirect to root path, which I haven't showed you yet. But if it wasn't, like in the case, it will render new again, and the status will be 422, which is unprocessable entity. So render new will take us back to the new action, new view, sorry, the new view, which is html.new.html.erb in registrations. And now this time with the same model, it has some errors because I showed you earlier I didn't add the passwords and password confirmation field. So whatever errors are there, I'm saying errors, if there are any errors, print those errors. That's all. That's what it's doing. Simple. So now I'll try to do it without any errors. steve.pull.com and password, and I'll sign up. It worked. So this time it hit the other one. User got saved. It redirected us to the root path, and where is root path defined in the routes? It's clearly written root static. If root path is being accessed, it's take it to the static pages index controller, which of course is this. Um, so yeah, so to and but we don't see this notice successfully created account. So what's happening? So we haven't actually set up flash messages yet. So we can do that first. So go into apps, views, layouts, application.html.erb. Why is this important? I'll show you. So what happened first is a get request as when we redirected. So you can see here 302 is the redirection. Then the new our get root path was in initial. We're going to get new path, sorry, root path. Then you can see the static pages control index. Then the next thing is being rendered is layouts application.html.erb. So we are in the same file, that is layout views layouts html. Application.html.erb. We are saying in the body tag yield. So what the yield tag is doing actually, whatever you're trying to enter in this whole file, this will be just copied and put in this yield basically. So this is the template for all of your views everywhere, each and every one of your views, because all the views first render this and then render your view. So we'll try to add flash messages here. So I'll say flash notice, and I put the equal to it, means it will render it. If I reload, you can see successfully created account. If I reload again, it's not there because it was cached, it was only once, so that's why it showed up. But this is not a good place to put it, so you'll have to create something called a partial. So come to views, create a new folder, call it shared. Under this, we'll create a new file called underscore flash dot html dot erb. Flash for flash messages. I'll explain why underscore, and I'll say um, if flash notice. So if there is any notice, if there is any notice, and and then we'll print it basically. Flash notice. Just put in a div, I guess. Um, just put in a div. Similarly, you can do for alert 2, flash alert. If flash alert, then alert. Yes. So I'll explain what's happening in a minute. So you have to link this to that render partial shared slash flash. Yes. So what I'm saying is, so first thing that gets rendered is your application.html.erb. So with each and every call of all of your like new.html.erb or any of the other ones, this file is the first one which is going to be rendered. So first in the body tag, it'll render the partial, which is under the shared directory, and it's called flash. Partial is named underscore flash. It's known to Ruby that's a partial. That's why you're naming it underscore flash. So it goes to the flash. It sees, oh, if there's a flash notice, then I have to show the notice. If there's a flash alert, I have to show the alert. Simple. So let me show you again what's happening. Yeah, when it redirects you to the root path, the notice is the flash notice. It redirects you to that. And then HTML application.html.rb is rendered. Then that renders a partial, which is flash.html.erb, which is rendering the flash. And then it goes back and yields the remaining part, which is the index. Welcome to Iris Bootcamp 2023. So I'll just create one more user so that you know that it works. /sign up. Mary Jane, let's call her, at example. Yeah, it looks like I've created it before. And password password confirmation, also password. Let's say, and I sign up. Yeah. Now it went back to the root directory, and the flash messages which we just added were shown. That's it. And if I reload, it gets cached only once. Reload, it's not there. To give a little bit more clarity on why we're using partials, so what we did was we added a flash message. We could have printed the flash message here too. So you could have told something like if flash notice flash notice. Right. You could have done this too. For this for index.html.trb. I'll just for now just comment this line out from um, application.html.erb. I'll just comment this line out. Yeah. So even now the flash messages would work. Just to test it out, let me go to our static pages controller, and let's say flash notice equal to it's working or something like that. Let's say. Now if I refresh, yeah, it shows the message that it's working. But the problem here is we'll have to manually go and add this if flash notice flash in every single file that we want this flash notice to occur, and we want it to occur everywhere. So that's why we are adding it directly to the application head.html.erb, because that's the first file that gets loaded, and then we could have just pasted whatever is in this partial to right here. I'll just show you what's in the partial. This whole thing we could have just pasted into this directly right here, and it would still work the same as the put having it in the partial. But again, just reload it, show it's working. Yeah, it's still working. But the point is, it doesn't look neat, and we want it to be separate, so that we want to change the functionality of this flash. Then, or you want to add some styling later on, it's easier to access. So hence we just have it um, in that file separate. You will also add nav bar or anything like that in the shared folder too. Like you want a nav bar, then something like uh, let's create a new file. You'll have a partial to navbar curl, navbar.html.erb. But in this tutorial, I won't be showing how to make a navbar, so I'll just remove this. But that's how you would do it. Okay, just close everything, clean it up a bit. Right. So just make sure everything else is working. Yeah, and remove this message. Yeah. So now we created Mary Jane account. Let's see if it worked. Let's do user.all. Yeah, here you see uh, John Doe at example, Steve at apple.com, and Mary Jane at example.com. As of now, we are only able to sign them up. We're not able to log them in. So that's why next we're going to look at how to log in users with session cookies. So if we're done with this part, we'll just git status once just to see what all changes you have made. Looks good. Git add all, git commit -m, add sign up form, again imperative language. Just I'll just close all so that I can show you from scratch what all files you're working with. Then git checkout main. Now we'll merge it, add sign up form. Yes. Now we'll start with a new branch. Pick a new branch, git checkout dash branch, add login, with session cookies. I'll call it this. Right. Okay. So if you open our routes, config routes, and also controllers, registration controller. So when we created a user, we're redirecting when they're able to sign up, we're redirecting them to the root path and sending a notice saying successfully created account. Here we can use the encrypted session hash, cookie store, which Rails gives us, which is something like session user id equal to at user.id. So what this is actually doing, this is a default session store of Rails application. Rails serializes encrypts the whole session hashes into cookies and then stores those cookies on the clients, that's browser. Each time a request hits the Rails app, Rails decrypts this, then deserializes that session cookie into to a hash. That hash is what the method session returns. So basically, this is encrypted, and it's safe to use. We're saving the user ID as a session user ID, and now we can say something like in the root path, that is index We go to views, static pages, index, static pages controller, sorry. Yeah. We go here, we can say if session user ID was found, then add user equal to user dot find that session ID, session user ID. Yes. So I'll just show you how the find works. So open my Rails console. Suppose user dot all returns everything. You can see IDs over here, ID number 1, 2, and 3, and so on. So if I do user dot find 2, yeah, then it returns with ID 2 what is the respective data over there in our user model. So you can also, there's one more method, user dot find by. I'll tell you what's the difference between this later on. Find by ID. If I do let's say 3 this time, you can see it shows my region. Okay. That's how this find works. So we are actually storing the user's ID into this hash, um, and then retrieving it later on in the static pages controller. That's why this works. Now, since this is an instance variable, it's an instance variable, will be available in our views, that is um, static pages and index action. So you should be able to find in the static pages index view. So you can say something like if at user, oh, forgot the percentage, embedded Ruby, yes, and if user, then let's say logged in as add user dot email. Again, just to show you that this will how this will work. If suppose I do user equal to user dot find 1, let's say, let's say 2, then let's print the user is steve at apple.com. Now if I do user dot email, it returns the email, and that's why it should print in our uh, index page. It should print logged in as user if he is logged in. We'll open the browser and let's see. Nothing's printed because let's go to the create sign up page and see. Let's try to create a new user. Let's call it foo@bar.com. I'll give it some password. I'll give it some password and I'll sign up. Yeah, it says, now you can see, it says successfully created account. This is from the uh, previous sign up page that we were trying to do. And now this is this logged in as foobar. Now if I reload, it still says logged in as foobar. Now, so what exactly happened was, so we tried creating a user, and then it was successfully saved, and so this if branch worked, then it got stored. The user's ID got stored in this session hash, and then it got redirected to root path with this notice. Then root path is basically under this static pages control index. So again, we are checking now, since we already stored the session hash user ID as user ID. We initiated instantiated a user at user equal to user dot find session by user ID, and then now this was passed the views. So it's told if the user is there, then show this message logged in as users at email at user dot email. Yes, that's why everything worked. Next, we'll see what happens if we destroy the what do you call the user and see what happens. So suppose this user, we destroyed the user. Let's see what happens. Let's go to our console. Let's say user dot last was of course foo at bar. Let's say user dot last dot destroy. So I deleted this user. If you want, you can confirm user dot all does not have foo bar. Now if I reload, see, it says couldn't find user with ID 4. See, so that's the way to fix this is if you do dot find by an ID, this dot find by and find by ID, it should fix it. So that's the difference I was saying between find and find by. Find is when you're 100% sure that the column or the data you're looking for is in the model or in the database. Find by will try to search for it. If it doesn't find it, it won't throw errors at you. So you don't want it to fail on production. So that's why it's better to use dot find by. You won't get the error. But right now, it's still the session hash. If you see, it'll still have the previous user's user ID. So we haven't yet logged out. So let's see next how to log out. So we'll go to our routes. Let's see config routes, and then we'll do a delete request to log out. Log out to. We need a new sessions controller now. Sessions, and we'll call it the destroy. We'll send it to the destroy action. So we'll go to controllers and make a controller now. Controller, new sessions controller dot r class sessions controller inherits from application controller and this. So and we'll define the destroy action. Dev destroy session user ID equal to me. That's it. And also after we logged out, let's just redirect them back to the root path, and send a notice saying logged out. Yeah, should be logged out. Now we'll go to the index. If we'll add a linked logout or a button actually. Button 2 is also a helper method provided by Rails to us. Say button 2 logout. This is a text that will get rendered. And let's see what path, what routes we have. For that, let's just check Rails routes. Come up here and we see logout. Yeah, so we have logout path, which will be delete request. We go to slash logout. So yes, we have a logout path, and we'll have to do a method, a special method delete. Yeah. Now if I try signing up as the same user, let's just for a demo, let's see, because I haven't still logged in, I haven't done a login sign up. Same the full bar, let's do it again. Password, let's, okay, there's some error. Okay, let's see. I think it should be small letter, lowercase. Yeah, So welcome to ILS Bootcamp. Yeah, logged in as foobar. If you click this, it should log out. Yes, logged out. So what happened here was same the routes, the button. Let's go back to the button. This button was rendered. Button to log out and to center log out path, and method was delete. So when you if you go, it'll hit our routes. It'll say delete method for log out. Do I know anything how to handle this? Yes, it knows. So it knows I'll send it to the sessions controller destroy action, which we created. Destroy action. It set this session hash to nil. So redirect to root, and then after that, just redirect to root path and notice will log out. That's simple. That's how it works. Next, we'll try to sign in or log in. Um, Same thing. Let's define our routes first. It'll be same as our registrations, but it'll be sign in, and it'll be handled by our. We're not creating a new user, so it'll be just the session. So sessions dot new sessions create. So we'll just have to create these two actions in our sessions controller, new, and yes. Now we'll have to create uh, a new view, because for login you need a form. So we'll go to views, app, views, create a new folder, sessions, and then new file, new.html.erb, and it'll be, let's say, slash h1 sign in. Form with URL sign in path, do form. This time we're not making a form with a model, just with a URL. We'll just copy the code from our um, previous form, which was, if I can remember, um, views registrations new. Yes. So this was, we'll just copy the email and password, even the button actually we need. Just copy this. Okay, we don't need the password confirmation. Just and this will be sign in instead of sign out. Yes. Right. So let's just check it out. Just go to a sign in. Yeah. Try to enter the password. Yeah, nothing really happens, but actually there's something happening, which is created a post request with sign in, processing the sessions controller create. Yeah, because that's what we have defined in our routes. Sign in, get request will go to the sessions new, which we created a HTML form for, and post request will be sessions create, which is right now empty. There's nothing. So it shows the same, no template found, rendering nothing, no content. Right. So we'll try to log this in. But yeah, this time there's something more different. So this time, see parameters. Previously it had a user hash, and the user hash had the email and password confirmation. This time, since we're making a form with only the URL and no model associated, the parameters directly have the email and the password fields. So let's go to the create. So what is happening is as soon as you submit the form, these email and password tags, email and password attributes are being sent through the parameters itself and not a user hash and then again parameters inside. I hope you're able to understand. And then these are being passed. So we can essentially params email will work and it'll give you the email as opposed to params user and then again email. I'll just show you what we did last time so that you can recognize. Yes. Yeah. So last time we did user params. We there was a user hash. Inside the user hash, there was email attribute, password, and password confirmation. This time directly in params itself, we have email and password because the form is with a URL itself and not a model. If I can show you what we had done last time. Yeah, here. So last time form with the model user. That's why it was a user hash and then attributes inside. So we'll just do, come back to our session. We'll say user equal to user dot find by email params email because that's what is being passed directly in parameters itself. You can see email is being passed, right? And if user dot present and let's say user dot authenticate params password. See, so this method again, user dot authenticate is being given by that has secure password method that we had defined in the user model um, in yeah in the first I think few comments we had done that. User models, yeah, user model, this has secure password. This is what is defining our dot authenticate method. So that's why we're able to do this on the user instance. If we're able to do this, then we'll keep an else. Then session user ID equal to user.id, similar to what we had done before, and we'll redirect to root path and we'll say notice logged in successfully. Else what we'll do is we'll flash an alert this time equal, we'll say invalid um, email or password. Let's not say exactly what's invalid or it's easier for them, for the hacker or someone to find out that which of the one is wrong and try it for the other one, and we'll render new. New will again render the same form again. We'll say status unprocessable entity. Okay, sure. I'll show you what's happening now. Say sign in. Yes. Steve@apple.com. Password. Yeah. So we have logged in successfully. Welcome to Iris Bootcamp. You're able to log out now. Nice. So again, sign in. I'll log into some other user. Foo@bar.com. I think it was password. Yeah. So okay. So what is happening is as soon as you go to sign in, it hits the routes. Get sign in hash new controller. So new controller does nothing. Sends it to the view. View shows the form. We fill the form, and these attributes are in the params directly. And create post request is requested. So post sign in goes to sessions create, which is here. And what you do is you try to find the email, find the user by his email, his or her email, using the params email. If the user is present and you're able to authenticate with the password, then you create a new session, then redirect them to the root path with this notice. Or else you flash alert saying invalid password or invalid email or password, which I'll show you. Suppose I type in a wrong password. It says Steve at Apple, some random password. Yeah, it says invalid email or password. It's better to be not specifically tell them which of the one is false. Uh, but it's a better way to keep it. Yeah, and then what it does is renders new, which is what is happening again. It renders the new form, which is the whole form again. New HTML. Yeah. So next, let's see what we can do next. So we'll try to add links first, so that we can access from the root URL itself. We'll add links to login, logout, sign up. Okay, so let's go to our index page. If user is logged in, this is what it's saying. This is a logout. Let's say uh, else, let's say to link to uh, sign in page, sign in, and we know it is sign in path. And similarly for sign up, it is sign up path. Just to be sure, it's open right here. We have a sign up path, and sign in path 2, which I remember. Let's check it out. Yeah, it's at a line break here. Sign in will take us to sign in. Let's go back, and sign up will take us to sign up. Yes, things working. Now we'll have to add one last thing we'll add, which is to edit the password. So the last thing we'll do for our own implementation of this authentication system is edit password. So for this, again, we'll go to our routes. We'll define our routes first. We'll say get passwords to, let's say, uh, passwords edit. It's not new or create because we already created those um, passwords in while sign up. So we just have to, okay, these are redundant. Okay, yes, yes. And also a patch, which is basically for updating, patch passwords to passwords hash update. So we create um, we'll create a controller. So new file, passwords controller dot rb, class passwords controller inherits from application controller, and end. Let's define edit, and also the other one was update. Yes. No, we'll have to. There's a problem here. We want to make sure that not everyone is able to change the password randomly. You have to be logged in to be able to change the password. So for that, we'll create a before action, which I'll explain what that does. So that before action is before action, and we'll call it require user logged in. Yeah, so we'll just define it here. I'll just show you how that works. So I'll do define user logged in, right? Um, so if at user dot nil, then redirect to sign in path alert. You have to be you must be signed in to change passwords. Yeah, something like this. I'll show you how this works in a minute. So now let's go to pass slash passwords. Yeah, and it says you must be signed in to change passwords. So what's happening is I tried accessing. Let's go back to my routes. Yeah, so get passwords, that's what I did. A get request passwords. Yeah, I did a get request to my password. It went to the passwords controller and edit um, action. And as soon as I open it, as soon as it reaches its passwords controller, it says before action. So what that means is before any of these actions happen, I want you to run this required user logged in action. So that's why this method, I want you to run this method. So this method says if user.nil, that means user is not there's no user, then I want you to redirect to the sign in path and add an alert that you must be signed in. But this is a bad place to put it, I'll show you. So we'll add the functionality to edit password if you're logged in. Let's go to index.html.erb. Let's say here link to edit password, passwords, edit password path. Yeah, so let's just log in first and try to see what happens. Sign in. Okay, same thing. Steve password. Yeah, so we got an error here. It says edit password path not found here. So let's see what's happening. So Rails routes. Yeah, we have a passwords get request passwords. We don't have an edit password. So what we can do is go to our routes and have an alias, because we can say as edit password, because it sounds better. It's more makes more sense to call the route that. Yeah, let's go back here. Yeah, edit password path. So it makes more sense. Now if I again run Rails routes, let's go up. Yeah, see. Now the edit password, we have edit password path now, which is get request to passwords. Before it was just passwords path. Now it is edit password path because I changed it to do as an alias. It's called an alias. So if I reload, yeah, if I reload, now you see edit password path. Just doesn't look good. Mm, yeah, just then line break. Yes. Oh, should be here. it's visible now. So when you logged in, it shows edit password path. If you click it, it says you must be signed in to change password. I'll tell you why this happens and why we're not able to access the edit password. And it says you must be signed in, although we are actually signed in. So the proof of that is, it says steve@apple.com. So what's happening is add user is not available in this passwords controller. As you can see in static pages controller, we're saying if session, it checks for the session, and then at user is instantiated. In we have to do the same thing in passwords. This is a bit, it's a bit bad way of doing it, but the other way is out of scope of this tutorial. That's why I'm doing this. Ruby and in general Rails follows a dry convention, that is, do not repeat yourself. So you're supposed to not do this. There's a different way to do it, but for this purpose of this video, it's fine. So what I'm doing is, since this method is going to be ran first, required user logged in, I'll check if there's a session, and then I'll instantiate a user and find him by the session ID, session and user ID, and now I'll check if it works. Okay, the password, yeah, it works, but doesn't work because we didn't make a template for edit. Okay, let's make a template. Let's go to app, views, create a new folder, passwords, and a new file called edit.html.erb. Right, and this is again a form for editing a password. So, and it deals with the user model. So we'll just copy the same form that we had made for registrations, which was in registrations new. um, Registrations new. Yeah, we just copy this form, same form as this. Again, we're dealing with the user model here too. The URL this time will be edit password path to form. If there are any errors, yeah, we don't need the email attribute again. We're not changing email, changing the password only. Next, we need to change this to edit password. Okay, and we'll change this to this form to say update password. This submit button, right? Let's see what changes we made. Yeah, edit password, password confirmation, and edit password, update password. So we'll go to our controller again, and so when we submit this form, it'll again go to the patch request. It'll go to the patch request, so which is under the update as we have defined the routes. So we'll do if at user dot update. And again, we don't want to pass parameters as it is. Params, let's say we'll define a method for this private helper function. Let's go down here, call it private. Similar thing that we have done with the user registration line. Def password params and params. Again, we're dealing with the model, so we need. So again, it'll be stored in that user hash. I'll just show you that permit this time only password and password confirmation. If so, if user dot update password params, let's say else and end. We'll say um, we'll redirect. Yes, we'll just redirect to root path and notice that updated password updated. Let's just check works. Let's try to mismatch. Let's see if the errors are working. Okay, they do. Oh, yeah, I forgot this. And then else, if it's not successful, then render edit, not new, status unprocessable entity. Yes, let's check again. I'm typing something different. See if it works. Yeah, works. So what we have done is um, from start. Once again, let me revise. They're saying get request passwords. Then it'll go to passwords and edit, but we have changed URL and called it edit password. So when you go to edit password slash edit password. Okay, let's go back. Yes, edit password. So get request to edit password will take you to the edit action, and edit action will render is doing nothing. It just render the edit.html but before anything happens, it goes to before action. Make sure that you're logged in. If you're not logged in, it'll send an alert that you must be signed in to change password, or else it send you to the sign in path. Then it renders the form for edit password, which is what we're seeing here. And then if this is um, if you submit this form, then it takes you back to the routes. Patch request says go to passwords controller and update action. So when you come back here and let's say you submitted the form, um, yeah, where's the form? Let's submit the form and see what happens. Just submit something. I'll show you. Yeah. So patch request, it goes to update. Yeah. Parameters. This time again, since we're using form with model, which I've showed you here, form with model user, the passwords and password confirmation attributes are wrapped in this user. So there's inside parameters, there's a user hash, and inside that hash there are attributes password and password confirmation. So what we're doing is, um, if at user.update password params, which is again password params you have defined as a private method, helper function, params that require user, because that user hash itself has these attributes password and password confirmation. Then these will be sent here. It is same as saying, let's say we typed it manually, um, password. If I had set it to something like password and password confirmation to, let's say, password, is same as saying this, but then it'll be dynamic basically, not hard coded. And if that happens, if this is successful, it'll redirect you to the root path and say passwords are updated, which I'll show you. Else, if things are wrong, then it'll take you to the um, edit back to the edit view, and which is again the form, and it'll show you the errors. If there are any errors, because we're still dealing the user model, so we have those validations which we wrote in the user model. If there are any errors, they'll print it out. So it's almost identical to what we had done in the registration form, just that there's no email attribute. Fine. So I'll just change the password to something else, and let's see if it works. Yeah, it worked. So password updated. Welcome to IRIS Bootcamp 2023, and log out. And if I want to sign in, let's do again. Yes, it's a different password. I logged in. I was able to log in successfully. So that's it. Um, for this authentication system made from scratch. Of course, there are a few rough edges here and there, like we shouldn't be doing this here. Like we're copying the code in two different places. And yeah, that's about it. Just to give a summary of everything we have done, I'll just comment the changes first. Let's just check fast git status. Yes, looks good. Let's add everything. Comment. Add login logout system. Let's say log out system or implement. No, implement login logout system. Yes. Now git checkout main git merge. Yes. So we're done. Let's just close everything and start from scratch. Let's log out. So we're on the main branch. Um, so everything that we've done from the start, let's see. So we have let's see all the branches so we'll get an idea. Git branch. Yeah. So first we did add users. Okay. So we added the user model. So in model, first we created a db migrate, and then we added this hash secure password, which is validating the password and email. And then um, let's say sign in path, how it works. Sign up path, then we did. So sign up open our routes and keep it open. Yeah, so sign up path was going to registration. So we created a controller registrations, and then that had a new and create. And I showed you how all of this works. And then we made views for those registrations for new and create. Yeah, we never really used create, so just delete this. Yes. And then we created yeah, then we just created the login. We added the flash and notice alerts, and then created login logger system. That's it. So next we'll see how devise gem works. It's basically this. So in the last part, we saw how to build our own authentication system from scratch. This time we'll see how the devise gem works. So devise gem is an authentication solution for Ruby on Rails application. It helps you set up user authentication in your projects without having you to do everything on your own. It handles like sessions and third-party sign-in with OAuth using OmniAuth gem and many more features. So it handles user login, logout, password recovery, and other features. Even devise uses MVC and follows convention over configuration principle. Um, and it uses bcrypt to encrypt passwords and authenticate users, which we had done in the previous part. Even devise also uses session-based authentication by default, but you can also use token-based authentication, um, but that is provided by a different gem called devise token or gem. But in this video, we'll be looking at session-based authentication. So yeah, we will create a new app, Rails new. Rails new, let's call it blog. We'll cd into the blog. Okay, I'll open it on VS Code. Okay, then just run the Rails server to make sure it works. Rails s-p. Yeah, it works. Okay. So we'll create a landing page similar to what we had done last time. So Rails generate controller, we'll call it static pages controller. We'll give it an index action, and let's also give it an about action this time. Just go to the routes. Since we have done it before, so we know where to change what. Index will be our root, and get request for right, and just check it out. Change this. Yes, yes, just change what it shows. Go to views, static pages, index. We'll give it the same heading as last time. Welcome to Iris Bootcamp 2023, and about, we'll just write about Iris. Yeah, that's enough, I guess. So just see if it works. Static pages slash about. Yes, works, but the URL doesn't look good, so we'll just change it to this about. Yes, and that's much better. Yeah. Get this to static pages about. Yeah, so it works now. Yes, just check our Rails routes. Yes, so our about path is what our static page is about. Everything's working. Just git add all, git commit dash m. Now we'll see what changes we have made. Now let's add the gem device gem. So we'll install and configure the device gem. First, we have to go to the gem file, and just under here, let's say gem device. Let's go bundle install. So that's what you use to install your gems. It's fetching. Yes, done. And using this command rails g device install, we can install the device gem. Yeah, so it's installed. Let's see what it says. Yeah, for the mailer, we won't be touching this time. Ensure you have a root URL. Yes, we have a root URL. Yes, and ensure your flash messages in layout slash application. So just copy what it says. So it says in views, app views layouts, application, same as last time when we had done our partials. Can just copy it here. Our flash notice, if you remember, similar thing, just to have notice showing up. Yeah, we have one more thing to do because we're using turbo streams in for device to work with Rails 7. You will have to do one more small change to go to config initializers device.rb and any right here, I guess, anywhere. We do config dot navigational formats equal to, and this can be found in some documentation or online. This no, it's not like I remember this on top of my head, but yeah. So yeah, we're set to go. We're all ready to go. So just create a new user, like we created the user model. Here we called a device user. So we'll say Rails generate device user, like how we had, if let's see, it was Rails generate model user email and password digest. If you remember, it was this. Instead of this, we're doing device user. Now I've created a db migrate. Let's just look at the migration file. Yeah, similar things. See, email, we also had this to string type when we had null to be false, so that we don't allow empty values, and here encrypted password. Similar things you can. So there are 10 modules which come in device, which I'll talk about later on. You can uncomment this and comment some of them, like uh, authenticable, recoverable, rememberable, trackable. But yeah, you have to be careful about this trackable. In some countries, it's like EU countries, tracking your IP address can might land you in some trouble. So when it comes from able, lockable, and all these other features. Now we'll check out the other files that device created for us. Uh, models app models user.rb. Yeah. So others are like here by default, these all are there: database authenticable, registrable, recoverable, rememberable, and validatable. Other ones you can uncomment and use them. So what these modules do? So uh, this basic model, all these basic modules, talk about these basic modules. So database authenticable, users can authenticate themselves with a login and password field. Encrypted password will be stored in database, same as what we had done. So registrable, users can register themselves and edit or delete account. uh, we had done sort of edit our password, not the whole account. Couldn't change email, and we couldn't delete account last time. And recoverable, users can reset the password and recover their accounts if they forget their credentials. Rememberable, this model remembers a session, user's session by saving the information browser cookie. We have done this. Validatable, this module provides validation for users' email and password fields. For example, even we had done this. So password should be at least 6 characters, or email should not be empty, and so and so. So we're almost done. Just making sure if our routes are defined. Yeah. So device for users. This line is important. Now we'll just see what all uh, routes are defined now. Yeah. So you have new user session, which we user sign in. User session will usually post request sign in. We had and this is taken care by device sessions new and create, destroy user session, and new user password. We're almost done the similar things like password update, password create, registrations, create. Yeah, about the same. For sign up, yes, we had used the same thing. Um, for sign up, we had done registration controller as new and create. Yeah, almost similar things. Okay, minimize this. So we'll just do Rails DB migrate to migrate our database changes. Yes, so created table users. Now we'll just run our Rails server, or more like restarted. It was already running, and we'll go to /users slash sign up. So everything, all of this is done by devise gem. We had similar things, email, password, and stuff like that. Let's see what happens if we don't add a few. Don't see messages for some reason. Yeah, it's not being saved. Let's sign up. Let's add a password. Yeah, same thing. Welcome, you have signed up successfully. Welcome to Iris Bootcamp. So similar things we had also done. So it's much easier now. Just few lines and you're done. Next, what we'll do is linking this authentication to our landing page. We'll open our landing page, which is statics control app controllers, apps views, static pages, and index. Right. Um, if user underscore signed in, yeah, this method, this helper functions are provided by devise. Like um, we had done similar things, but not we didn't have a helper function as such. We'll say um, let's add a div. Let's say welcome. One more good feature, it also gives us this current user, which is also a devise helper. Current user.email. Similar things. We are told what? Yeah, I think signed in as, yeah, logged in as. Try to keep it same. Logged in as. We have done this. And else, let's the button to sign in. New user session path. And how do I know this exists? We just checked our Rails routes. New user session, new user session path. That's to sign in. Also create a button to sign out. Oh, to render this equal to button to sign out, and that will be destroy. Let's make sure. Yeah, session destroy underscore user underscore session path. Yes. Let's see what's the result. Okay, let's just check the result. Yeah, same thing. Logged in as Steve as Apple. Let's think I called it logged out. Let's find this. Signed out. Sign out. Signing out. Yes. So yeah, same similar as last time. To say method destroy delete. That's important because web, it's a destroy path and we have to mention the method we're using. Let's see now. Yeah, it works now. Let's try to sign in again. Sign in. New user session path. Try to sign in. User session. User sign in. Yeah. So Steve Happy password. Yes, remember me. Login. Yes. Now just log out. Yeah. So sign in is working as we checked earlier. Just some password. Remember me. Log. Yes. Log out. Yes. Everything's working. We try to add edit password and other functionality, similar functionality that we had in our from scratch video. So we'll say we have, if we're not log signed in, we'll try to sign up, which will be linked to sign up, comma. Let's see, sign up should be registration, new registrations. Yeah, got it. Yeah, there it is here in the view. New user registration, new user registration path, and I think this was called logout, so we'll just call it logout here too. And we can also edit password, as I remember. Link to edit password. This will be edit user, if I'm correct. Let's see, yeah. Edit user registration path. Let's see. Start a line break here. Yeah. So sign in works. Let's go to sign up. Create a new, let's try to create the same account. See what happens. Okay. So login, all the buttons are working. And let's say if I've signed in, steve@apple.com, and I have my password. say login. Yeah, same thing, logged in as Steve as Apple. We have option to log out and also edit password. It's actually edit the password. It's actually edit settings. It's the whole account, edit account settings. Yeah, yeah. We can change this. We can change passwords, current password, and everything. And we can also cancel our account. Yeah, your account has been deleted. So basically, just set it up in less than 10 minutes, around 10 to 15 minutes, compared to building it from scratch. And it's probably more thought out and more secure. So really useful gem. And you can also create, also you can create some tracking, and also OAuth, which is like you want to authenticate with some third-party user. Like you would have seen login with Google account or something like that. You can do all of this with this gem. You can also send mails. You can also send mails saying if you forgot the password and want to reset your password, or if you forgot account, what do you call it, your username or something like that. So all of that is possible. You just go through the documentation on the GitHub page or some other examples. You will find it's very easy. It gives a lot of useful helper function that you saw, user signed in, and then current dot user and stuff like that. You can also, a few things we missed. We have authenticate the user before changing. Like you can also authenticate user while using so that they can't access a few pages without being authenticated. Like example, about page. If I say, um, let's go to our, I don't want the user to be able to see my about.html.erb. So I'll just go to our controller, static pages controller, and say before action. I hope you remember we had done the same similar thing. Authenticate user. Yeah, yeah. So if we do this, for as of now, we'll apply to every one of those actions over there. So we won't be able to see this too. So what we can do this, just move this to our application.html.erb. Um, sorry, application controller. Yeah, and we can say in our static pages controller, skip before action, only include um, only include index. So this should be only you can access index without being authenticated. Just everything you have to be authenticated to be able to access. So yeah, you are able to access this page without being signed in, as you can see. If I sign in, then if I try to the about page, it'll say you need to log in before. And if I just again show you the route, I'm able to log in. I'm able to access this page even without being logged in. I'll sign in then. Steve at Apple, password, login. Oh, I think I've signed up. Sign up. Never. Oh, let's say Steve. I think I've deleted this account. Yeah. So I've signed up. Now I'm able to see the about iris, about page, and I was already able to see this page previously. So if I log out and just show you, I'm able to still access this page, but about I'm not able to access. You need to log in or sign up. Yeah. So that's how the gem works. Pretty useful, very easy to, very good documentation too. So check out the GitHub page github.com/hardcombo/device.